What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 24 League Racing, and we are here for round number 2 of Season 4 of the Streamers and Co VRL. It is of course our first season on F1 24, and we are here at Silverstone, the Great British Grand Prix, and it is going to be a sprint weekend as well, so we've got 2 opportunities to score points here. We were a little bit lucky to inherit the final points paying position last time out in Las Vegas, and now we're going to get down onto the track for qualifying and see if we can qualify well for sprint qualifying. So here we go. We are out at the moment on our first flying lap. Now obviously only one set of soft tyres available for the sprint qualifying, so I started out on a set of medium compound tyres. I had a bit of a moment through Cops there and ultimately kind of wrecked the medium tyre run, unfortunately. I did end up going on to finish the lap, but you can see the grip was almost non-existent for me there, just kind of sliding about all over the place, really struggling to keep the car kind of planted and all that kind of thing. But eventually, you know, we did move on to our soft compound run, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to get a decent time in here, see where we stack up compared to everybody else. We are improving over our medium compound run. Obviously it was invalid, but we are improving over it by a considerable margin, almost 1.5 seconds now. But you can see I had a pretty big moment there through the Vale chicane, and that no doubt cost me quite a bit of time across the line. It's a 1:27.9 at the moment. That puts us in P13. It'll be interesting to see if we stay there or if anyone is going to dethrone us from this position, and at the end of the session it was good enough to put us in P14, so one person did improve ahead of us, but you know, ultimately not a terrible result here in qualifying P14. Hopefully we'll be able to move forward up the order into the points a little bit. Maybe not for the sprint, top 8 might be a bit ambitious, but certainly in the race I'm hoping that we'll be able to deliver a pretty decent result. But it is my teammate Bjarni on pole, with Lewis, Liam, Anto, Ryan, Phil, Ollie, Smith, Ryan Harris and Ryan Scores. A lot of Ryans in this league. RC also a Ryan as well, so yeah, 4 Ryans I'm racing against in this race. Statistically, there's a pretty high likelihood that at some point we're going to come into some wheel-to-wheel action with at least one of them during this race, but we will see if that comes to fruition or not. But yeah, we will see now what we can do as we make our way down onto the track for the race itself. For the strategy in the sprint, it is going to be a set of soft compound tyres to the end. It does look like there is a chance of rain, but it probably won't come before the race is over, I'd imagine. So I think we can put that out of our mind and just focus on getting the best possible start that we can as the lights come on and the lights go out. And I think we've had a pretty good getaway there, especially compared to Jermaine. Quite a few people here on the medium compound of tyre. We'll see whether that is the superior compound of tyre or whether the softs will be able to last to the end. I'm pretty confident they will be able to be honest, so hopefully it should be okay. Carl Nelson going a bit wide there, that's going to allow us to get at the inside of him, but meanwhile RC has made his way back past me, and then Carl Nelson, you know, trying to make up for his earlier mistake, decided to go all the way to the apex of the corner and pushed me into, I believe it was Costa or maybe it was Jermaine on my outside, I'm not sure. Meanwhile, you might have seen Smith spinning off in the background there. Meanwhile, Carl Nelson braking a bit late for the corner, shoving me out of the way. Alex, that sim racer, he tried to get through, but ultimately he ended up overcooking it a little bit. He's spun as well. KK has capitalized on the chaos to make his way through as well, and it looks like Costa now is coming through as well. So overall, yeah, really difficult start for me there. Carl Nelson just kind of, you know, refusing to be down and out a little bit and shoving me out of the way wherever he really could, and ultimately it's not really cost him all too much. It would have cost him had Alex not kind of had that moment that he had, but as a result, you know, he's kind of managed to get away with it scot-free, Carl. But for me, I've lost 2 positions already, and it's about to be a third here to Alex as well as we make our way through Stowe now. And you can see that you know, couple this with all of what's going on with my grip and that kind of thing. You know, I'm really struggling through all of these corners to kind of keep the car planted and that sort of thing. You know, it's not really much of a surprise that I find myself all the way down in P16 at the end of lap 1. But I do hope that we can at least get back to beat Carl Nelson before the end of the sprint here, because you know, it really did wind me up a little bit. I didn't really think that a lot of the overtakes that he was going for were particularly fair or that kind of thing. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to beat him before the end of the race. We'll see how the race unfolds, but for the time being we find ourselves in P16. DRS has been enabled, but you know, everyone's got DRS in front of us, so it's not really going to make a difference. But here we are now on lap number 3. Carl Nelson has now fallen to P15, as you might have expected, and we're going to see if we can now try and make the move on him as well up the inside. And indeed, you can see that we squeeze him out quite nicely. He tries to go for a bit of a switchback on us, but ultimately he didn't really have the position to be able to do that. Unfortunately, now it means that we are over a second down on Costa on those medium compound tyres. I'm hoping that there would still be enough fight in these soft compound tyres to be able to catch back up to Costa in front, and maybe even get back past him at some point. You know, we really had to strike while the iron is hot here, and unfortunately, because of all those shenanigans with Carl kind of just shoving me out the way whenever he felt like it, it kind of put us on the back foot for a lot of this race. Costa did eventually pick up a 3-second time penalty, so yeah, I'm hoping that we should be able to do with that. You might have seen that there was a Ferrari around there that actually wasn't Alex this time. It was Simple. Meanwhile, I saw my opportunity to get back past Costa, but unfortunately it was an illegal overtake, so I had to immediately give it back to him. And then somehow Carl Nelson has managed to find his way through, and once again just going for a completely irresponsible and inappropriate move. So we're going to try and get him straight back up the inside of Abbey, but unfortunately I just don't have the grip to be able to do it. We get a penalty for ever so slightly going over the track while I'm slipping and sliding all over the place. And yeah, this race very quickly started to get away from me. You know, I was trying to grind my way back into it if I could, but unfortunately, you know, the grip was just absolutely non-existent. It's a shame because I'm using a pretty decent setup. A lot of people were saying that apparently a recent patch has kind of broken controller settings a little bit, so that's something that I'll have to address before the next race, and yeah, we'll see what we can do regarding that. But yeah, for the time being, Carl Nelson really was frustrating me quite a lot in this race. You can see Alex now is round as well, both of the Ferraris having big moments in this race, but ultimately that allows us to get the DRS here on Carl Nelson, and we're going to make our way back into well, what is now P12, and probably the absolute maximum we'll be able to achieve from this race. But for some reason, Carl Nelson there, he's allowed to just go off the track and then overtake me by dive bombing me into the following corner, and then proceeds to have the worst run I've ever seen through a series of corners, which holds me up massively. No room to overtake him there, and now we're coming under pressure from the Ferrari of Simple behind as well. I mean, this is just you know, at some point you have to ask yourself, does he actually have something out for me? Because it feels like specifically I'm being targeted by how atrocious his driving actually is, and it was really starting to get on my nerves. You know, I don't think I could count on one hand the number of positions I've lost which are directly his fault in this race. You know, and Costa now is trying to make his way through on us, but unfortunately he kind of is so focused on the battle with me that I think he missed the braking point there, and ended up going quite deep into the corner. So we have managed to stay ahead of him for the time being. Obviously he's got that 3-second penalty, so that's probably who we're racing with in this race, you would have to imagine. But now we're going to see if we can get back ahead of Simple. You may have seen there that Carl Nelson actually went off the track, and now he's all the way down in P17. Good riddance is what I say to that. Hopefully he won't be able to terrorise too many more people before the end of this sprint, but I'm sure he'll give it another go during the race proper. And yeah, we probably don't have the pace to keep up with Simple, unfortunately, and that Ferrari is just a bit faster than us. However, as we make our way onto lap number 7 into the DRS zone, you can actually see that we were a little bit faster than him. So as we go 3 wide through Stowe there, with Costa getting involved in the mix as well, we almost managed to get back past Simple here. Obviously it wouldn't have mattered because we have that 3-second time penalty, and Simple has managed to keep it clean enough. But if he does pick up a 3-second penalty, then obviously this becomes quite an important thing. But you can see we're just struggling so much with the grip. We get a corner cutting warning and we go round, and that is basically going to be the end of any chance of me having some good battles in this race. Jermaine makes his way through on us. I think Smith is probably going to get through here as well. Yeah, just really struggling for grip on these tyres, to the point that we you know, maybe I put the power down too early through the corner, but if we'd put it down any later we would have lost out to Costa based on you know, just him being faster, him putting the power down earlier, that kind of thing. It was just a bit ridiculous, really. And who's here after all of this? Of course, it's Carl Nelson, who's now going to try and make his way through on us as well, as we struggle with the front wing damage through Cops. I just waited until he was past me before I even thought about going for the overtake. You know, I didn't even want to entertain the idea of trying to race wheel to wheel with somebody who clearly is not capable of doing such a thing. So yeah, we let him go past. You know, we got the DRS on him, but I don't think we're actually going to get close enough here to even think about going for a move. He's just kind of you know, wiggling about on the straight a load. I wouldn't really call it weaving, because I don't really think that he's aware of the fact that he's weaving. I think he just genuinely is just, you know, thrashing his steering wheel around for fun or something like that. But at the end of it all, we're going to round the final corner, and with a 3-second penalty, we are just about going to hold on to P17. It was about a 3-second gap to Alex behind in P18. But yeah, really, really disappointing series of events in that race. I don't think I'm entirely to blame for them. I think between fighting the fact that the car setup was poor and I was really, really struggling for grip, and the poor driving of this McLaren driver who, you know, really probably isn't equipped to be able to race in a league. You know, it was just a really, really difficult race for us, and I'm hoping that we will be able to get a better time of things in the actual race, and hopefully maybe score some points as well. But you know, obviously the prevailing sort of setup issues and grip issues will remain. It was Lewis from Anto from Liam was the top 3 here in the sprint, with Ryan McLean, Bjarni, Ryan Harris, Ryan Scores, and Ollie rounding out the top 8 point scorers there. And yeah, now hopefully when we get into the race proper, we'll be able to bounce back from it a little bit, and hopefully be able to show the kind of pace that I would hope to be able to show around Silverstone. And what better but a wet qualifying session to be able to really show what I'm capable of. You know, I really enjoyed wet conditions on the previous year's game, but unfortunately, once again, just really struggling for grip here, and somehow through Club Corner, once again, we've binned it, much like we did in the sprint. My first flying lap here on a set of wet compound tyres has ended in disaster. Well, not my first flying lap, I should say my out lap, really, to get onto my first flying lap was what kind of cost me there. I kind of crashed across the finish line. So yeah, we're going to go again. The track is drying up a little bit now, but I'm just going to stick it out on the wet compound tyres. A few people are actually going out on the intermediate tyres, but they're down the bottom of the pecking order, which suggests to me it's not quite time for those intermediate compound tyres yet. We'll see whether they do manage to be the tyre of preference before the end of the session or not. But as we make our way through the final few corners, through the Vale chicane, through Club Corner, we are going to come up to the line, cross it to do a 1:42.3, and that's good enough for P9. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. You know, I'm hoping that we'll be able to improve once again. You can see Captain Liam's just gone 3 seconds faster than us, so clearly there is more time available to us, but unfortunately I couldn't really extract it. I think, to be honest with you, it probably was time for intermediates before the session was over. This last flying lap, I think, could have been an intermediates run. We chose to go out on the wets. I think that's probably hampered the amount of time we could have found in this run. They were pretty close together. It was quite borderline. It wasn't a simple case of this tyre is better than the other, I don't think. But it's only a 6/10 improvement for us, 7/10 across the line. It's a 1:41.6, and we actually did not improve our position, despite improving by nearly a second. We would have had to improve by another, what is that, 1.2 seconds? Oh, no, never mind, I was looking at Bjarni. 0.6 of a second to catch up to Smith in P11. So it's actually Alex, who started in last for the sprint, starts in first here for proper qualifying, with Lewis just behind him as well. Bjarni qualifying P6 there, a decent result for him in the Alpine. Hopefully he'll be able to pick up some good points. And yeah, we're going to be starting in P12. And of course, who else is right alongside us on the grid but Carl Nelson in P13. Despite the fact that we out-qualified him by nearly a second, we're still going to have to do quite a lot to be able to contend with him in the race and make sure that he doesn't screw up another race for us this weekend. It's going to be a soft medium for us, boxing on lap number 10, going to the end on a set of medium compound tyres. I'm hoping that will be the correct strategy to be on here today. We will see how the race unfolds, and it is time once again now for the lights to come on. And the lights go out, and we've had a very good getaway there compared to Smith. He was very slow off the line by the looks of things, and we've already made our way up into P11, getting ahead now of Harris as well. I think we're going to be able to go around the outside of him, and maybe even try and search around the outside of Costa here as well, potentially, to get ourselves up into P9. This has been a very, very good start for us as we go around the outside of Costa, and, well, of course, who else but Carl Nelson has just completely beefed it there and shoved Costa off the track into me. All three of us were off the track at one point, if you want to know how not on that move that Carl Nelson's just gone for. And we were all the way up in P9, P10, and we've been shoved down into P16. and already, you know, all that momentum we had off the start has just been completely ruined by this guy. So we're going to try and get ahead of him as quickly as we possibly can. We dive up the inside, try and squeeze him out, but not too much, obviously, because I actually understand the concept of leaving people racing room. And yeah, now we're going to see if we can actually get the move done by the time we get to Cop's corner. Fortunately, I think he realised I was ever so slightly ahead of him there, and so decided to back out. So maybe a little bit of racing intelligence on display for the first time this weekend from Carl Nelson. And yeah, now we're going to see if we can close down the likes of Costa and Jermaine in front of us. Once again, both of them on the medium compound of tyres, really not vibing with the soft compound tyres this weekend for whatever reason. And maybe, you know, I should have heeded this as a bit of an omen for myself to know that the soft compound tyres maybe weren't, you know, the kind of tyres that I should be going on to. But as we make our way round the final few corners here on lap number 1 in the race proper, it is going to be no more than P15 for us. However, Bjarni seems like he's had a very similar moment to the moments that I've already had through Club Corner. Very unfortunate for my teammate, of course, but he will be finding himself in the bottom of the order. I think maybe Smith had a moment on lap 1 as well, so he's found himself all the way back down there as well. But yeah, unfortunately, not a good weekend for Alpine so far. Making my way into P14 as a result of that incident for Bjarni, but hopefully with this DRS we'll be able to close down the cars in front as well, Costa, Jermaine and whoever it is up the road from these guys, as well as we try and send it up the inside at Luffield on Costa, but unfortunately just don't quite have the grip once again to be able to even think about going for this move. Here comes Phil now. I think he had a moment at the start of the race as well. I think it was actually contact with his teammate that did it for him, and somehow he's managed to make the move just by, you know, driving normally through a straight. I don't really understand, because as far as I understand, me and him were running quite similar setups from what he described to me. So yeah, I don't really understand what's the deal with that, why he was faster than me in a straight line. But you know, it is a mystery to all of us. He's made his way up into P14. We're back down to P15. It's going to be 3 wide here between Costa, Jermaine and Phil, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to sort of sneak through, maybe find a position or two, make a tiny bit of contact there with Jermaine, and ultimately we don't make up any of the positions that I would have wanted to. Meanwhile, once again, Carl Nelson gone for a dive bomb that is just completely not on. He was 4 tenths behind me at the corner, may I remind you, and for some reason that he thought that was an appropriate move to go for in the slightest. Bjarni now into the pits. His weekend effectively over already, and yeah, we are falling off the back of this train in front here as Simple goes for a very dangerous rejoin there. Carl Nelson decides to stick his wheel up the inside once again. You know, really not understanding what this guy's deal is, but fortunately, because he went for a completely ridiculous and terrible move there, he lost about 8 tenths of a second to me, so it'll be about another lap or so before I have to worry about him once again, you would imagine. However, you know, being held up quite a lot by this gaggle of cars in front who are kind of jostling for position and that kind of thing, we get the braking zone a little bit wrong there, and have to try and take evasive action around the outside of Jermaine. Alex has had a moment here and he's spun as well. So many incidents going on in the opening laps of this race that I can't possibly keep track of them all, but we do find ourselves in P14 at the moment, and the next car in front of us is Mr. Ryan Scores in that Red Bull, and as we go through Cops you can see he's had a big moment there. He's off the track as well, and that's going to allow us to make our way up into P13. So almost through sheer circumstance we're finding ourselves making so many positions up at the moment. You know, we're actually doing a pretty good job of you know, just keeping it sort of clean and consistent. I know I had that moment with Jermaine a little bit earlier in the race, but ultimately I don't think it's going too poorly. Smith now going for a move up the inside on me as well, up into P13. No doubt in my mind this weekend he definitely had a bit more pace than me. I'm hoping next weekend in Baku perhaps I'll be able to show a little bit better pace if I can get on top of the setup and the controller issues and all this kind of thing. But you know, it is also entirely possible that maybe it's just that I'm a little bit more out of practice compared to everybody else on this grid. You know, these guys all kind of race in multiple leagues now. They're sort of very keen practicers and that kind of thing, and I mean, I'm sure that if you guys are career mode viewers as well, you'll be very aware that I've not been playing this game very much recently, which is to be honest with you, just a simple fact, I'm not really enjoying playing the game. It's not very fun, in my opinion, and this race kind of exemplified all the problems that I've had with it already, which is just that I actually can't seem to keep the car in a straight line through most of the corners, which you know, is not really what you want when you're playing a game like this. I was almost tempted to turn back on you know, full traction control, which is something I haven't done since F1 22. But such was the nature of how much I was struggling on it. I really felt like I didn't really have much of a choice other than that. Carl Nelson, once again, just going for an absolutely brain dead move. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I know he watched the previous video that I did and was maybe a little bit disappointed that he caught what he described as a bit of a slating in that one for some of the driving that he was doing. I think that you could probably describe this as a bit more of a slating, the way I've described his driving here today. But quite frankly, he deserves it, because he's absolutely ruined my weekend on multiple occasions here today. And, you know, I just don't think it's very fair. So I've actually said to the stewards, and I think I will uphold this. Maybe I was just frustrated in the moment, but as these issues continue to happen to me, I continue to be frustrated about them. I said to the stewards that on a weekend where this guy is racing, I will not be racing anymore, because I genuinely don't think that this guy is capable of racing on a league racing grid. I don't think that he's capable of keeping it clean enough to be able to do that. So yeah, I don't think it's fair to the other drivers on the grid to let somebody who clearly is this incapable of racing wheel to wheel with other drivers you know, it's not fair to spoil the race for everybody else, is my perception on this. So yeah, I've made my position on this quite clear. I am one of the stewards in this league, but ultimately we make decisions based on majority rule and unanimous decision and that kind of thing. The rest of them don't seem to see an issue with it, mostly because they're not the ones who've been racing wheel to wheel with them. If you're wondering what that was and why I left off the throttle so much, I just got out of Alex's way. At this point, I've just kind of accepted that this weekend is a bit of a write-off for me, to be honest with you. You know, it's not been particularly fun. We just went off the track in the most ridiculous way possible because, you know, at this point, my head was just completely gone. I was like, this is just not fun in the slightest. It did give me an immense sense of schadenfreude there to see Carl Nelson spinning out through cops once again, and yeah, hopefully that will be the last we see of him this weekend, and you know, he can stay down at the bottom end of the grid, where he won't be of any danger to anyone else on the grid. And now as we make our way onto lap number 10, you can see the first few cars have actually come into the pit lane, including Ryan and Ollie, who I think were scrapping over P2 before this, and then Ryan for some reason went for a move that was just completely not on there. Tried to dive up the inside as we make our way onto what I believe is the Wellington Straight, and I think he ended up spinning there actually, so he's lost multiple seconds. He tried to claim that that was my fault. I'm not really sure what else I could have done in that moment. If you try and suddenly send it up the inside of me and you spin out as a result of that, I'm going to say that's probably your fault. So yeah, we make our way into the pit lane at the end of lap 10. We're going to be going onto those medium compound tyres, and you know, hopefully just having a straightforward race to the end. I don't even care about scoring points. If we can kind of luck our way into scoring points here at the end, then you know, that would be pretty great. Obviously I'd like to be able to score points, but ultimately, you know, the reason why this video is a little bit later than that it usually comes out, you know, usually I try to get these out on maybe a Sunday or a Monday. This one coming out on the Friday, of course. We were a bit late putting this one together, just for the simple fact that pretty much every time I watched back footage of this race, it just made me begin to seethe with rage once again. You probably are detecting a little bit of frustration in my voice at the mere fact of doing a voiceover on this one almost a week after participating in this race. Such is the nature of how much it annoyed me. I get another track limits warning there just for not really paying attention very much. You'll notice we're now on lap 19. That's because there's an 11-second gap in front and behind me. Quite literally nothing was happening in these races at this point. It was just a simple fact of, you know, we're just ploughing along, doing everything we can. KK coming in for a second pit stop here, and very nearly coming out ahead of me here. Such is how poor my pace was here. I was still pushing, by the way, for what it was worth. I hadn't completely given up, and I was just kind of, you know, driving around like nothing anymore. Like, I actually was still driving and trying and that kind of thing. But my pace was so bad that, you know, the likes of Jermaine and Costa and KK and all of these drivers who I'm usually pretty close in pace to, if not maybe even a little bit faster than, at least on last year's game I would say that that was true. You know, all of these guys are suddenly like 1 second plus faster than me on this track, which I just could not wrap my head around. Obviously KK now on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, he is going to be faster than me. We get a 3-second time penalty for good measure as well, so yeah, really just not the ideal weekend for us. More cars coming into the pits now. It's Smith coming in. That's going to allow us to get ourselves up into P14, and I think there are more positions yet that we will be able to gain in this race if you know, things continue to unfold the way they have. Ryan has retired from the race, which I think was just due to the fact that he was frustrated with how some of the battles that he was involved in had gone over the course of the race. But you know, ultimately I wasn't really involved with that. He was running up in, I believe, like P2 or P3 for the majority of the race, so yeah, unfortunate that he retired from it, and that was basically the end of the situation here. So yeah, we are going to be just making our way through the final lap of the race, and I think P13 is probably the best we're going to be able to get here. Hopefully we won't be caught by Smith before the end. 5.5 seconds down on us. I think we should be able to get it. Lewis crossing the line in first. I think he actually won the sprint as well, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a double victory here this weekend for the Williams driver. I'm sure he'll be very happy with that. The Season 3 champion, of course, seems to be already setting out a path to defend his title here. But yeah, just a really frustrating race for me, and kind of exemplifying all the problems that I have with the game at the moment. You know, you will have no doubt seen that it's been a while since I've uploaded a career mode video as well. This is again just because I have very little motivation to play the game in its current state, really not enjoying it. I'm going to cross the line there to take what says P12, but that's because Captain Liam in the other McLaren is incapable of following basic instructions given to him by the stewards not to leave the race before everyone's crossed the finish line, so we can get an accurate depiction of where everyone has finished. So yeah, he actually did finish up in like P4 or something like that, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but there or thereabouts. And yeah, we're going to see the podium now, which is Lewis in P1, Anto P2, and well, it's actually Ryan Harris there inheriting P3 there as well, as a result of all the battling that was going on around here. So yeah, I'm sure he'll be very, very happy. I think that's his first podium in the league. You know, I'm happy for him. Pretty good result from a driver who definitely has shown flashes of pace at times in this league. I'm sure he'll be pretty pleased with that result as well. But for us, it's just about trying to put this out of our mind now. You know, obviously I could leave the league if I wanted to, if my issues were really this deep, but I want to keep persevering. I want to keep actually trying to have a good race if we can. So yeah, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get on top of the issues that we had here today. There's been a new patch as well since I did this race, so I'm hoping that might make a difference as well. But yeah, the China episode of career mode is recorded as well, so I'm hoping that I'll have the motivation to get that one out at some point soon as well. But for now, that is basically going to be it for this video. Next weekend is going to be Baku. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.